Welcome to Epic Story Hub, where every story reminds us how love, pain, and life's surprises shape who we are. If you believe in the power of emotions and real human moments, make sure to subscribe, because today's story will touch your heart deeply. This story begins with a man named Daniel. He was an ordinary father, but his love for his daughter Emily was anything but ordinary. Daniel had raised her alone ever since his wife passed away when Emily was just 6 years old. He learned to braid her hair, pack her lunch, help with her homework, and sit quietly beside her when the world felt too heavy for her little shoulders. Years passed and Emily grew into a strong, beautiful woman. Daniel watched her achieve everything she dreamed. Of every step she took, he felt his wife's spirit smiling from above. But as Emily's wedding day approached, Daniel carried a quiet ache inside his heart. He had always imagined his wife standing beside him on this day, helping their daughter get ready, fixing her veil, whispering motherly advice, but now it was just him. The wedding was set in a beautiful countryside chapel. White roses lined the path, and golden light poured through the stained glass windows as Daniel entered the hall. Dressed in his only black suit, the one he'd worn at both his wife's funeral and Emily's graduation. His hands trembled, but his heart was steady. He had promised himself that he wouldn't cry today. People smiled as he walked in. Some whispered softly that he'd done such a great job raising her alone. Daniel just nodded politely. But deep down he wondered if he had done enough. Had he been both mother and father? Well enough had he given Emily everything she needed? When the ceremony began, the music filled the room. The doors opened and Emily appeared in her wedding dress, radiant and glowing. Daniel's heart swelled with pride. His little girl looked like an angel. He remembered the first time he held her in his arms, the tiny fingers that wrapped around his thumb, and how he had vowed that no matter what, he would never let her down as they walked down the aisle. Everyone's eyes turned to them. Emily held his arm tight, whispering, "Dad, don't cry. You'll make me cry too." He smiled, but couldn't stop the tears. He looked at her groom, a kind young man Daniel had met only a few times. He seemed respectful and sincere, but the thought of giving his daughter away still made Daniel's chest tighten. They reached the altar. Daniel kissed Emily's forehead, then slowly placed her hand into her groom's. It felt like giving away a piece of his own heart. When he turned to walk back to his seat, something unexpected happened. The officiant paused. The music stopped, and Emily called out, "Dad, wait." Everyone turned in confusion. Daniel stopped mid-step and looked back. She was crying, her eyes full of emotion. She said, "Dad, before I marry the love of my life, I need to thank the first man who ever showed me what love really means." There was a silence you could feel in the air. Every guest turned to see Daniel frozen in shock. Emily continued, "Dad, you taught me strength when I was scared. You taught me kindness when I was angry. You taught me to believe in myself, even when life felt unfair. You were my mother, my father, my best friend, and my hero. I wouldn't be standing here today without you." Tears streamed down Daniel's face as Emily walked towards him, holding something in her hand. It was a small velvet box. She opened it, revealing a golden pin shaped like a heart engraved with the words, "My first dance, my forever hero." She said, "Dad, will you dance with me before I say I do?" The crowd gasped. The groom smiled and nodded. The band began to play a soft melody. Daniel stepped forward, his hands shaking as Emily placed her arms around him. They danced slowly under the soft lights. Time seemed to freeze. Everyone in the room was crying. Even the photographers lowered their cameras as they swayed. Daniel whispered, "You look just like your mother tonight." Emily smiled. "I know she's here, Dad. She always is." When the dance ended, Emily hugged him tightly, whispering, "Thank you for never giving up on me." He replied, "Thank you for giving me a reason to live after losing her. You saved me in more ways than you'll ever know." The ceremony continued, and when Emily finally said "I do," Daniel sat back in his seat, his heart full, not of sadness, but peace. He realized that love doesn't end when someone is gone. It continues. Through the people we raise, the lives we touch, and the promises we keep. After the ceremony, as the guests celebrated, a young woman approached Daniel. She was a journalist covering the wedding for a local magazine. She said, "Sir, I've never seen anything like that father-daughter moment today. You didn't just give her away. You gave every parent here." Hope Daniel smiled through tears and said, "I didn't raise a daughter to keep her. I raised her so she could fly." And she finally did. Later that evening, as he stood outside watching the stars, he felt a gentle breeze on his face. It felt like his wife's touch, soft and reassuring. He looked up and whispered, "She's married, love, we did it." And in that quiet moment he realized that he was never truly alone. Love had never left him. It had just changed form, from his wife's arms to his daughter's smile, from tears of grief to tears of joy. That night, the father who once feared being alone went home with a full heart, because he understood one thing: some goodbyes aren't endings, they're beginnings. This is the story of a single dad whose love defined a lifetime, and whose heart reminded the world that true love never dies. It only finds new ways to shine. Thank you for watching Epic Story Hub, where real emotions meet unforgettable stories. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us keep telling the stories that matter.